Well, hello everybody, welcome back. I'm really glad you could join me once again. So, I don't know what it's like where you are, but here in Edinburgh, since we went from August to September, the weather has completely changed. It is grey, a little bit cold. It's been raining for 2 days, and for me, even though I hate to be one of those people who rushes the seasons, especially from summer, which is my personal favourite, it really is feeling a little bit autumnal. And I just had the desire to be cozy in the house and bake something. So I thought that is what I would do today. And I thought I want something seasonal. So I'm going to make an apple tart. I wanted to make an apple and blackberry tart, but I can't find any blackberries. All the supermarkets are sold out. Even in my greengrocers they don't have any, so I'm thinking that everybody else has got the same idea and everybody's rushing to make apple and blackberry pie. So I'm going to make just an apple pie with a little bit of cinnamon, and then I'm going to glaze the apples with some apricot preserve, which I have here, and I think that will be great. Now, I hold my hands up and admit that I am not the best when it comes to tarts and pies. It is my weakness, my weak subject. But I always think that the only way to improve is to consistently try. So I'm going to try, and if this doesn't work out, at least you can be entertained by my lack of skills. But in my experience of doing this for 5 years, I've realised that something always turns out edible and beautiful, so I'm sure that we can make it work. So yes, join me in the kitchen for this cosy bake. I have prepared all of my apple slices here, ready to go onto the dough, the crust. So now we're going to get on with making everything else. First thing that we have to do is my personal idea of hell. As anyone will know who's been watching this channel, it's mixing flour and butter. It just gives me the heebie-jeebies, but we have to do it. So let's get it in here. And the quicker we get it done, the quicker it's over with. Goodness, I hate this. I really hate it, and I know that people tell me, oh, just use a mixer, a blender, and it will work, but I tried it before, it wasn't the same. I do think that a light touch is the best way to do this, even though, as you can see, I'm physically hating it. The things I do for my YouTube friends. It also doesn't help being short, because I'm having to stand on my tiptoes as we do this to really get into the bowl. Sometimes when I'm not filming and I'm baking and I have to do this kind of thing, I'll just put it on the floor and kneel over it. It's much easier than doing it this way. Those are the behind the scenes things that you don't get to see. But I'm sure everybody has their own things like that they do at home when nobody's watching. So yes, I'm not a huge sweet guy, especially over the last 2 years when I decided to cut sugar out of my diet quite severely. But I think every now and then, when, you know, the seasons are changing, you can have a little bit of a treat at home, and I will invite, I know I've got people coming over at the end of the week, so they can come over and maybe have a slice of this tart. I think it's a tart, not a pie. It's definitely got it's a tart, so they can have a slice of this tart with some tea maybe like an apple and cinnamon tea, which I have in the cupboard, and that would be quite lovely with, yeah, with the slice, bit of cream. I think I'm almost there with this dreadful task, and I'll be glad to move on for sure. So you want to do this until you get breadcrumbs. That's when you know it's ready. I have to say, even though this is not my favourite task, I've done a pretty good job of it. This is done. You can see we have breadcrumbs. All of the butter is not melted into there, but there's no big hard lumps of butter. And we have beautiful breadcrumbs. So I'm glad that's done for another while. No more pies this winter. So next we're going to stir in our sugar, caster sugar. I'm just going to mix this through with a spoon. The egg yolk, adding in, just stirring that through a little bit as well. And then I'm just going to add in just enough water in here so that we start to get a dough. So not a lot. Take it slowly and you'll start to see it coming together. Hands in again. I think this is coming together now. Yep, it is. There's nothing left in the bowl, just a few little scraps. So that is nicely done. And what we're going to do is wrap this in cling film and then we'll leave this to chill in the fridge for about half an hour. Whilst you're doing that, you might want to start slicing up your apples, so core them and then slice them thinly as possible, and you want them in kind of like crescent shapes. Or you can make them round, it's up to you, but I want to use crescent shapes. So I'll pop this in the fridge and then we'll carry on. That's the hard part done. I blind baked this for 30 minutes and then I took it out, took the baking beans off and the parchment paper, and then I popped it back into the oven for 5 more minutes just to make it a little bit more golden. So this is nice and warm, and what I'm going to do now, before we start layering on our apples, I'm going to put a little bit of apricot preserve onto the base here, and this is quite a classic patisserie technique just to add that sweetness, that jamminess, and make it even more delicious. It will kind of caramelize with the apples and be really, really beautiful. So I'm just going to add some of this onto the base, and then we can start assembling the tart, and hopefully I will have enough apples to cover the whole thing. I think so. This is already making my mouth water. Looks so wonderful. You don't need to go crazy with this part, just to give it that little extra special autumnal touch. Sophie's tip, 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 tip tapping. You may be able to hear her. She always loves to be in the kitchen when I'm cooking and baking because she very often gets a little treat. Now that she's 14 almost, I think she's allowed some things. Nothing too unhealthy, but now and again a little bit of meat or something. Got my apples, and I'm just going to start arranging them around the tart as neatly as possible. We'll see how we go. As I said, this is not really my forte, this kind of thing, but I'm going to try my best, because it would be nice to have a good result. Okay, so now that that is all layered in, it looks pretty nice actually, I have to say. It looks quite cute. I'm just going to reassemble some of these so it looks a bit more tucked in. Make like a kind of flower, I guess. That's what I see in Paris. See if we can do that. There we go. And then that one can go in there. Okay. So we're going to sprinkle some demerara sugar on here. This will give it a nice golden crispiness as well. And then we will bake this in the oven for 30 to 35 minutes. And I'm hoping that this will turn out really, really well. And then my fear of pastry will become a little bit less, and I'll be able to think about doing more of this kind of thing. I know that this is one of Nathan's very, very favourite puddings. So he would be delighted if I make this. And then I've got a little bit more left of, it's kind of like cinnamon sugar water from the apples, and I'm just gonna put that over here. This looks wonderful. Okay, let's bake. Wish me luck. Well, our French lady is out of the oven, and I have to say she's looking pretty marvellous. I'm going to leave it in the pan for now, just to let it cool off. But whilst it is still warm, I'm going to just take some more of our apricot jam and try and get it to be nice and silky, the silky bits, not the chunky parts. And again, just put this over the top. And because this is all warm, it's going to be quite lovely. Being careful not to move the apple. It's quite difficult to do, so take your time. And you don't have to do this step, it just adds an extra dimension to it. And there we go. So I will serve this with some single cream when it's cooled off, and I can't wait to enjoy it with a cup of tea in this autumnal weather. Kind of glad that it's autumn now for things like this. Wow, fabulous. Alright then, let's try it. Looks rather lovely. Hopefully it tastes good. Wow. That is wonderful. Definitely reminds me of being in Paris, and with the cinnamon, especially with the apricot as well, you get that real autumnal feel. Incredibly delicious. Those apples are perfection. Wow. Beautiful. Please try this, it's heavenly. I will pop the recipe in the description box for you so that you can check this out for yourselves. Amazing.